Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! Resolve. In the last episode, we managed to establish that there was a fourth balloon up in the sky and that it was shut down, maybe. We had this hypothesis and we managed to pull through and sway the jury, but now he is Professor Harebraynes and he has to say something, and he's not up for good things for us. So we'll have to listen what he has to say. So let's see what he has to say.
Mr. Naruhodo, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Professor?
But you can't stop now. Just keep your mouth shut, please.
Sorry? What's all this about, Mr. Harebraynes?
I, Albert Harebraynes, hereby confess that it was me who stabbed Mr. Odai Asman. Yes, it was me, with my faithful friend and partner, Andrew the Screwdriver.
Well, what are you doing? Order, order, order! Defendant, explain the sudden confession.
Objection.
Professor Harebraynes, what are you talking about?
It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis and my precious machine. You stand there and claim it was all a trick, an elaborate prank, but where's your proof? No, you'd have to examine the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would be all over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean, the indignity of it.
It's clear that you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it. It's quite conceivable that you were duped, Professor. If you'll just let me, I can...
Barack!
Yes?
I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say. I swear it. So please... ensure the Special Dispensation of Scientific Equipment Act is adhered and protect my creation.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my learned Nipponese friend.
What?
And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defense's position in the light of the accused's confession. Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do, the Special Dispensation of Scientific Equipment Act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge that the machine is genuine and instrumental in the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved.
Well, counsel, what is the defense's official position on this matter? What Professor Harebraynes, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. But there's no way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect my client's life by asserting his innocence? Or do I uphold my client's request by seeing him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust.
You've been silent long enough. Isn't talking your trade, my learned friend? Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese mind?
Mr. Naruhodo!
There's no escape here. I have to make a choice. But it's an impossible one. I have to give up on something, but what? The defense asserts that the defendant's instantaneous kinesis machine was in fact... Oh, what are we going to do, guys? I mean, there is no escaping this. I mean, what are we supposed to do here? I really have no clue. If we... I mean, he's innocent, right? If we go with this, we will go with his wish. But if we go with the conjuring trick, we will pursue the truth. And all Ace Attorney games are about pursuing the truth, right? So, I'm going with conjuring trick. Yeah, I'm going with conjuring trick. Ah! No, I can't say it. My client placed his faith in me. I can't just let him down. What must I give up on? It's not the question you have to ask yourself here. It's what can I protect? Hello again, Mr. Naruto. It's been far too long. So Sato-san! But what are you? Yeah! Oh! My first Susato takedown in 6 months! There'll be time to talk later, Mr. Naruto. For now, we must concentrate on the task at hand. Which is working out not what I have to give up on, but what I can protect. Professor Harebraynes.
Yes?
Yesterday you told me that science is the pursuit of truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth too.
Yes, of course.
And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Asman. I think you've come to realize something yourself too, haven't you? That your experiment and the machine you built with the victim are questionable. The truth behind that is what we must both pursue now.
Ah!
So, you finally opened your eyes.
What?
And as for you, Albert, you can't ignore this any longer. Having heard my learned friend's assertion, don't you have something to say?
Barak! Lord Van Zeeks. Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before.
In truth, there is one thing. Something I've remembered that's of relevance.
What?
On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow.
I beg your pardon? Professor! Did the man have any distinguished features? What did he look like?
Taller than me and thinner than me, with straight hair, straighter and whiter than mine. Let me see, one lens than me too, a monocle, a rather stylish black monocle. But one thing in particular will help to positively identify the man. You see, I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention.
What? He built the machine?
That's right. Mr. Asman introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of Enoch Drabber.
Enoch! Drabber? Does this name mean something? Members of the jury seem flustered.
Not a name any scientist wishes to hear. The man's an abomination.
Not a name any conjurer wishes to hear either.
Who on earth is he?
I'm afraid this isn't the first tale of this nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. There's a talk of other flamboyant experiments that turn out to be nothing but stage trickery in the end. Obviously, the rascal is after the government's research grant money.
When magicians are in need of money, I have heard of them resorting to these underhand tactics. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Drebber's name before.
The man is both an engineer and a magician. Yes, we're dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Drebber for you.
So it's true then. My invention, my great machine, it was just a grand illusion.
Considering what we've just heard about Mr. Drebber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely.
Even though no one else believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted.
Which is why you were so opposed to it being investigated, I presume.
I knew that if the machine was examined in detail, its construction would give away my hypothesis. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen. But at the same time, I knew that if it was found to be nothing more than a trick, then a work of deception, then everything I'd worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, my whole life, would be over. I was terrified at the prospect.
So you really had no idea then, did you? About the true nature of the machine that was built, and the true nature of Mr. Drebber.
I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it.
It's entirely possible that Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as means of fraudulently acquiring the research grant money.
When I announced my invention to the crowd that day, it was the finest moment of my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Drebber had described. When the smoke suddenly started blowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know how the whole illusion was made to work. I don't know anything anymore.
Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm very sorry.
It would appear that we shall have to suspend proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Lord Von Zieks,
My lord?
the court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement in this matter is critical.
Yes, Mr. Drebber.
Gather information about the man, if possible. I should like him served with a subpoena.
With pleasure, my lord.
Now, counsel for the defense. Yes, my lord. When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime for which he presently stands accused. I understand. Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning. October, 1:36 p.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber.
Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes?
I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I dragged you into my mess. Oh, how did it all come to this? I'm so sorry.
Did you really have no idea, Professor, about what Mr. Drebber was really up to? I mean, about what he was really constructing?
Naturally, that machine was the embodiment of my hypothesis, of all my hopes and dreams. I had complete faith in it.
Alright, in that case, I won't say anymore. Now, sadly the murder accusation against you still stands. So we must do as much investigation as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow.
Well, thank you for doing so much for me.
Look who showed up, by the way.
I'm so sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo.
Arriving late?
Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I'd arrived.
Postcard? What postcard?
I hid it from you, Runo, so it would be a surprise. Well, did it work?
I was surprised, alright, especially when she threw me to the ground.
Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I was just so happy to see you again that it sort of slipped out.
Maybe we could stick to more traditional displays of emotion in the future.
Susie's train was late into London Victoria this morning, you see. But we made the coachman really whip the horses hard so she didn't miss the whole trial. I was watching from the gallery for a while, but in the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself.
Well, I'm glad you didn't.
Oh,
Having you at my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So, I'm delighted to see you back in London.
oh, you're too kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm delighted to be here. I hope I can continue to be of service to you.
Of course, so what's brought you back? Did Professor Mikotoba not protest?
Let's save all that conversation for when we're back at home, shall we? You know, I've made up one of my most special blends for this special occasion. Oh, Iris, how wonderful. I can't wait.
Susato-san was back in London. It's hard to describe how happy that made me feel at the time, but despite my delation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn. Well, that is an incredible turn indeed. And we will have a second day of investigation and a second day of trial, guys. So, I'm really happy that Susato-san is back. That really makes me happy because being alone on the defense bench is, yeah, it kind of saddens one, I think. You could put it that way. So I'm really happy she's back and she's going to investigate with us. And if you want to know how things turn out since Susato-san is back in town, you'll have to tune in next time for the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Resolve. See you then.